What's that, Kanna? Oh, it appears my cat Kanna, executive member of the Bun Squad, has something to tell you all. Allow me to translate for all of you. Alright, class, listen up. Yosh. 今日からこのクラスの種になるグレート猫金塚だ。15歳猫。よろしく。Eikichi Onizuka is a 22-year-old bachelor living in the heart of Tokyo. A high school dropout, Onizuka spent his teenage years as the leader of the legendary Onibaku, a group of Yankee, or delinquent students, that were once known as the fiercest thugs in Japan. However, times have changed, and Onizuka has decided that he wants to make a difference by becoming a high school teacher. While his intentions aren't entirely noble, Onizuka knows what it's like to be bullied by his teachers and aspires to be a teacher that treats all students equally, no matter who they are. With the help of his best friend Ryuji and a bit of luck, Onizuka is hired at Holy Forest Academy, a private school that is full of problems. Ryoko, the director of the academy, believes in Onizuka completely and assigns him to teach a middle school class that desperately needs his help. Class 3-4 is considered the worst class in the history of Holy Forest, infamous for pulling cruel pranks on teachers and forcing them to resign. Never one to back down from a challenge, Onizuka confronts his students and shows them just what kind of teacher he is. Onizuka doesn't discriminate, and he isn't afraid to use alternative methods in order to teach his students real-life lessons. You see, Onizuka isn't your typical teacher. Oh, far from it. He isn't really interested in teaching them actual school subjects at all. Onizuka is much more concerned with teaching his students how to be better people. He teaches the guys to back up their words with actions like real men, and shows the girls that bullying and tormenting other people only hurts themselves in the long run. Over the course of the series, Onizuka slowly changes the outlook of his students, one by one, until most of the class begins to support him. At the same time, we slowly begin to learn why the class hates teachers so much, and what Onizuka needs to do in order to make them trust teachers once again. Students aren't Onizuka's only concern, though. He has to deal with corrupt teachers, the PTA, and even the teachers' union that funds Holy Forest Academy. With his overwhelming charisma and a bit of help from his students, Onizuka will have to remind them exactly what it means to be a teacher. The story builds to a very strong climax, and a bittersweet ending that fits perfectly with the tone of the series overall. At the forefront of the entire show is Onizuka himself, and boy, what a character he is! Forget everything you know about teachers now, because Onizuka is absolutely nothing like them. He's vulgar, perverted, and flat out rude. He has dyed hair, pierced ears, and the strength to bench press over 330 pounds. In his looks and his actions, Onizuka is still a street thug, and that is exactly what these students need. There are plenty of teachers at Holy Forest Academy who spend their time pressuring students to succeed, only to call them trash when they don't make the grade. Onizuka knows what it's like to be harassed by teachers, and so he refuses to do the same. His main concern is making class enjoyable for his students, And because he's still a kid at heart, Onizuka is able to level with his students better than any other person. He speaks to them as a person, and that is what really gets through to these students. On the surface, Onizuka is a lot like Kanna from Gurren Lagann. He's brash, arrogant, and never really thinks of the consequences of his actions. He's a symbol of strength, able to do impossible things with little to no effort. However, what really separates Onizuka from Kanna is just how human he is. For the majority of the show, Kanna felt larger than life and practically invincible. This is not the case for Onizuka. There are many moments where he looks like a badass, but for the majority of the show, he acts like a complete fool. He has an IQ of 50, so he's constantly doing stupid things. He has a second-degree black belt, but he gets beaten up by his students numerous times, and he isn't exactly the most ethical person in the world. But that's what makes him so likable. He's far from perfect, but he's always trying to do the right thing for his students, even when he wants to do something wrong. He acts as an advisor for his students, yes, but his students also act as advisors for him. If he steps out of line, his students will help him out and put him on the right path, just as he always does for them. It is a very complex relationship, and something you don't see in a lot of anime these days. The secondary characters may seem a bit one-dimensional at first, but this changes as soon as you learn more about them and their motivations. There's the eccentric vice principal Uchiyamada, who wants nothing more than to see Onizuka get fired, Miss Fuyutsuki, a fellow teacher who has a relationship with Onizuka that's always one step forward and two steps back, and Coach Fukuroda, who is even more perverted than Onizuka is, and that's saying something. There's Yoshikawa, a reserved, socially awkward student who quickly befriends Onizuka, Kikuchi, who's a computer specialist with a talent for making composite images and audio, and Kanzaki Urumi, a super genius with an IQ of 200 who is a master of classroom terrorism. I really wish I could say more about these secondary characters, but their backstories are heavily tied into the main plot, and I really don't want to spoil any of the major plot twists. There is a lot of character development in this anime, and a lot of it is really, really well handled. One major thing that I haven't mentioned yet is just how hilarious this anime really is. When this anime isn't pulling at your heartstrings, it's doing its best to make you laugh, and it always succeeds. Now, comedy is a highly subjective form of entertainment, so you may not agree with my assessment, but I find the comedy on display to be extremely well crafted. GTO uses a combination of situational humor, slapstick, physical comedy, reactionary humor, and cultural-based gags, to great effect. Now, you may not get every single joke, since many of the gags are references to popular anime, but I always find myself bursting out laughing whenever I watch the show. At its core, though, Great Teacher Onizuka is more than just a comedy. It's a criticism of the Japanese school system and the Yankee culture that it creates. I think the best way to explain this is a line from the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. The Japanese have a saying, "The nail that stands out gets hammered." In the film, the main character is an outsider, and his father wants him to blend in so that he can do well in school and Japanese society. The same can be said for the students at Holy Forest Academy. You see, Japanese schools have this weird dichotomy to them. There is constant pressure upon you to be top of the class and be a successful office worker or businessman, but at the same time, you are pressured to be just like everyone else. There is a strict dress code at schools making sure that students blend in with the crowd. Your hair color has to be natural. Your school uniform is made up of bland colors such as black, white, navy blue, and dark gray. And intelligence on its own is not rewarded. In Japan, everyone grows together. However, where does that leave people like Eikichi Onizuka, who isn't the brightest bulb in the drawer and sticks out like a sore thumb with his appearance? Unfortunately, in these schools, there is no place for such students. Those who stand out or who go against the norm are discriminated against heavily and are offered no extra help to keep up with their fellow students. They're left by the wayside, and so many of them become Yankee, thugs abandoned by their schools and teachers simply because they looked different or came from a poor neighborhood, judged from the moment they set foot in the building. The nail that sticks out is hammered down. There's a scene in the beginning of the anime where Onizuka is given an interview for a teaching position, and he's laughed out of the interview because of his thuggish appearance and the grammar mistakes he made on his resume. He isn't given a chance whatsoever because it appears as if he's unqualified. They treat him like trash and call him trash without a second thought. Later on in the episode, the vice principal who conducted the interview is assaulted by several former students of the academy. He turns to Onizuka for help and offers him a teaching position in exchange for his protection. However, the assailants reveal they never had a chance. They were treated like trash from the moment they walked into the school, and Uchi Yamada confirms this, that they are indeed trash. In response, Onizuka uses a German suplex on Uchi Yamada and states that it's always the same in these schools.
If that's how you treat students, I don't want to be a teacher.
Onizuka represents everything that the school system stands against, but he shows that the system needs to be changed. So many bright young students are thrown to the wolves simply because they are different and not offered help in these schools. There wouldn't be a Yankee problem if students were treated with kindness and respect and given the help that they need. He aims to be different, and we see over the course of this series how he changes these kids for the better. He may not be the smartest teacher in the world, but he would give his life for his students, and that's what they need. That's what Onizuka needed back before he became the legendary thug. This is what I truly love about this anime. Underneath the comedy and all the craziness, there is a real message here, and it really hits home with me because I was one of those students as well. I didn't think I could do well, but I got help and I made it through. But I could have been just like the legendary Onibaku and become a thug. In terms of voice acting, the Japanese sub is your best bet. All of the cast turn in very solid performances, performing serious dramatic moments and over-the-top silliness with relative ease. Each actor sounds natural in their role and brings to life the realism of their character. The real standout performance here, though, is Wataru Takagi as Onizuka. Takagi is well known for his roles as Genta Kojima in Detective Conan, Masaru Aoki in Hajime no Ippo, and Daffy Duck in the Japanese dub of Looney Tunes, but he simply is Onizuka. He's able to bring out every aspect of Onizuka with a certain honesty that makes you like the character so much more. I simply love Takagi as Onizuka. The dub, on the other hand, is barely passable. In Jacob Chapman's review of GTO, he said the dub was so bad it's amazing, and I have mixed feelings about that. On the one hand, this is one of the most hilariously bad dubs I have ever heard. The translation is very stilted, making conversations feel awkward and forced. There are heavy liberties taken with the script, adding in jokes that are extremely out of place, and the voice acting is laughably bad for the majority of the show. A large portion of this stems from the accent that each character has simply out of nowhere. Kikuchi is now sporting a much more stereotypical nerd accent, complete with nasal whine. Fujiyoshi sounds like a surfer dude, and I have no idea what's going on with this girl here, but yeesh. Hell, half the time we have the issue of unnatural pauses because they have to match the Japanese lip flaps. It's Chain of Memories all over again. So yes, much like Ghost Stories, the dub is a barrel of laughs and fun to watch. At the same time, that's only if you've seen the Japanese sub once before. If you watch the dub first, I really feel it ruins the impact of the show's message. You can't take these actors seriously, and it becomes hard to take the rest of the show seriously as a result. The comedy is there to complement the deep topics that this anime explores. Suicide, abuse, neglect, and corruption are all part of this anime. When the show hits these moments, you need actors who can really sell them, and it just falls flat when it comes to this dub. So yes, by all means watch the dub and laugh at whatever the hell accent they're putting on at the moment, but please watch the sub first, because otherwise I just don't see the anime having quite the impact that it should. With that being said, the only actor in this dub who I feel is suited for his role is Steve Bloom as Onizuka. He does a great job of making Onizuka sound cool, and his comedic timing is excellent, but I don't feel his performance is eccentric enough for the character. It's not a bad performance, but it pales in comparison to Takagi's, and I just wish he had a little bit more energy. Another thing that really works for this show is the fact that each episode is referred to as a lesson. From lesson 1 to 43, each episode serves to teach the students and the audience a distinct life lesson. While there are a few filler episodes sprinkled in here and there, it is clear to me that this anime is trying to have an impact on its viewers, and it certainly achieves its goal. In terms of animation, GTO is somewhat simplistic, but there is a reason for this. GTO was based off of a live-action television drama of the same name, which aired in Japan from July to September of 1998. The live-action version proved immensely popular with Japanese audiences, and so Studio Pierrot created this anime adaptation. It is safe to assume that GTO adopted a more realistic animation style in order to cater to fans of the original show. Personally, I think the animation really fits with the style the show is going for. It may not be the sleekest or the most fluid animation, but it is very realistic, and it uses stylistic camera angles to great effect. The music of GTO is one of the best aspects of the show. For the background music, GTO uses a variety of different insert songs that range from upbeat jazz to classical piano to rocking guitar riffs. Each insert song is highly enjoyable and is placed at the perfect time in each episode, so you begin to look forward to recurring tracks rather than find them annoying. Both of the opening themes are just plain awesome. The first opening theme, Driver's High, is comprised of some of the most engaging visuals I've seen in an anime opening, from the striking black and white color scheme to the perspective shots of Onizuka's motorcycle. I don't think I've ever seen an opening theme look quite like this, and that is saying something. The song itself was performed by L'Arc and Cell, who have created numerous different opening themes for high-profile anime. They always do an amazing job, and this is no exception. This song is just plain awesome, and I love listening to it every single time. The second theme song, Hitori no Yoru, is not quite as enjoyable as the first, but it is pretty damn good. The visuals are just as striking and engaging as Driver's High, but the real highlight is the song itself. Hitori no Yoru is performed by Porno Graffiti, which is an amazing name for a band, who have also created songs for popular anime such as Bleach and Fullmetal Alchemist. The song is extremely catchy, and you will find yourself humming the tune when you least expect it. The closing themes are all pretty good, but my favorite has to be Shizuku by Miwako Ukuda. The song is simply beautiful and gives me chills every single time I hear it. Now, for all the praise I've given the series, there are indeed problems. While the first 2/3 of the series is paced extremely well, giving us a new student and a new story arc every few episodes, the last third of the series does not fare quite as well. The first few episodes of the Okinawa arc are filler episodes that don't really add anything to the series, even if they are hilarious, and the Okinawa arc itself feels like padding before the amazing conclusion. With that being said, the Okinawa arc contains some of the best character moments in the show, and it never feels boring or out of place. This arc was always meant to happen, but I just wish it was a bit shorter and they cut down on some of the filler. In addition to this, some people might take issue with just how corny the speeches can be at times, but personally I find them uplifting and inspiring. Overall, Great Teacher Onizuka is an excellent show. While it may not be perfect, it certainly achieves everything it sets out to do. It delves into difficult topics like bullying, suicide, and the delicate relationship between a teacher and a student, teaching us real-life lessons along the way. Every episode is entertaining and filled to the brim with jokes that will have you laughing out loud before the lesson is through. Yes, there are some pacing problems near the end, and the dub is completely laughable, but that is a very small part of the whole. Great Teacher Onizuka is one of my personal favorite anime, and I highly recommend it. This series is a great introduction to anime and earns my official stamp of approval. There it is, my official stamp of approval. However, don't just take my word for it. I asked Noah Clue from Dub Talk to give his thoughts on GTO as well. With that being said, what do you think, Noah?
Where is it? I can never find it under here. Why do we have so many frying pans? Oh, here it is. Ow! Wait. Did somebody say something about Great Teacher Onizuka? Like that old anime from, what was it, 1999? Oh, man, that is a really, really great show. Actually, I'm really glad that you're talking about that, Zen, because, hold on a second. So, that's actually a show that I don't really hear as much praise for these days as there really should be, because, okay, yeah, it is a really great show, but I can understand why not as many people are talking about it, because, like, you look at the visual style for it. It was made in 1999, but it doesn't look like it. It kind of looks like a series from, like, an OVA from the 80s, just because of the visual style, and there's a good reason for that. With all of the... hold on a second. Because of the way that they wanted to focus on an older character, you know, they wanted to have a show that was specifically about someone in, like, their mid-20s, you know, a little bit older than anime usually focuses on. They wanted to go with a style that was, like, not a pretty-looking Japan, but, you know, that's kind of for the best, because it's not talking about a pretty topic. And, we see a lot of anime about school. Like, we've seen a lot, even into the present day. High school is a very common setting, but not a whole lot that are, like, commentative about Japan. So I'm really glad that this show actually has the gonads to talk about that. And the way they do it is by commentating on the show itself. By the way, never add milk to your omelets. That's not a good way to go about doing this. But the whole setting of Great Teacher Onizuka makes for a really great comedy. You've got this character who really shouldn't be a teacher. He's a screw up. He's a former delinquent. But it works really well for the setting they're going for because again, school in Japan is a little bit infamous for being a little bit difficult for students who can't crack the system. It's very harsh on people. It's meant to churn out very productive members of society. So in that setting, to have a character who can commentate on it while being kind of a screw-up character himself makes for a really great comedy. And then that's really helped by the dub, too, which I know that's the thing that everybody remembers about GTO is the dub, because it's not a great faithful adaptation, but then again, the show itself is not really very pretty. So you've got a dub that's trying its best to make comedy out of a situation that is itself very comedic. I know that's a bit of an oxymoron. But if I were to really describe what I like about this show, it's probably the fact that it evolves as it goes along. It starts out with a very basic setting. The character, is a delinquent that wants to become a teacher for not very good reasons, but then evolves to use very unorthodox styles to make his students much better people. So that's something you don't see a whole lot. It feels a little bit like social commentary in something that you can dismiss as comedy, but if you really look deep into it, you can find a whole lot of deeper content into it. I don't know, that's just something that we see a whole lot of. People are frivolous in high school. Like, it's more about the romance or the just having fun in your youth setting, but to actually be more socially commentative about it. And again, this came out 20 years ago. That's something that's really rare in anime these days. So, do I like it? Absolutely. Do I recommend it? I do recommend it, especially for people who may not have heard of it or even seen it because it's a little bit of an older series. Definitely check it out, and honestly, it's probably one of the best comedies in anime you will ever see. So, that is what I got to say about that. I'm so glad that you were taking a look at this, Zen. Enjoy.
Great Teacher Onizuka was originally licensed by Tokyo Pop and is now out of print, but you can find the complete series on both Amazon and eBay. In addition to the anime, there are 2 live-action series and a live-action movie that were never brought over to America. I'll touch upon the other versions of GTO in the future, but if you're curious, you can also find these on Amazon and eBay for around $30 each. I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, the cutest of buns, and thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so that you too can join the Bun Squad, and hit that bell so that you can get every single notification. Have a good one, everybody! Alright, great job, Kanna, but next time, can you do the episode without acting like a thug? You have a reputation to uphold as the prestigious Bun Squad, and I know you're a furry little soda-hating thug, but we need to keep up appearances. No, Kanna. Kanna, what are you doing? Kanna, stop. Stop, Kanna! Stop crashing into my cresta. My cresta.